Welcome to the Mental Health Bootcamp podcast. This is the podcast where 4 psychotherapists, 3 Canadians, 1 American serve you cutting-edge mental health knowledge. I am Ryan Howes, a psychologist from Pasadena, California.
And I am Brooke Lewis, a registered clinical counselor from Vancouver, Canada.
And I'm Joanna Boyd, also a clinical counselor from just outside Vancouver, Canada.
I'm Chris Boyd, also a clinical counselor, psychotherapist from the same spot, Vancouver.
Vancouver. All right.
And also my brother.
That's right. You guys are siblings. That is true. So, how's everyone doing here? A couple weeks before Christmas, the first night of Hanukkah, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
It is true. It is true. I was wondering if anyone has weird Christmas traditions, because I heard of one from the east coast of Canada that I thought I would share.
Okay.
Wonder if anyone else has weird or interesting Christmas traditions.
Let me see. Traditions. We usually eat some spaghetti the night before.
That's awesome.
Christmas Eve. We usually have spaghetti. I don't know. I don't know if it's weird. We kind of do one present the night on Christmas Eve, open the rest in the morning. Usually have a big brunch Christmas afternoon, midday. And then everyone probably, well, at least I do, take a nap in the Christmas afternoon because the day is kind of exhausting. So
All that spaghetti that you had?
all that spaghetti, all those carbs, you bet, wears me down.
Something, it's not super, I guess, I don't know if it'd be weird, but for Chris and I growing up, we'd have something called tortillere, which is a spiced meat pie. And we'd have that at midnight with champagne.
Whoa.
Well, we wouldn't have the champagne part, but maybe a sip here or there. But that was something we'd have at midnight on Christmas Eve. So a little bit of a French-Canadian thing.
We'd also have
Tortillere.
tortillere, yeah. We would also have there's a Danish tradition. Before dinner on Christmas Eve, we'd have a rice pudding. And in one of the rice puddings is an almond. Whoever gets it, who's lucky enough to get it, usually gets a prize of some kind, which is usually a box of chocolates.
But it's always a mystery. We're always looking at each other and seeing who has it. And it's always someone's hiding it in their cheek, or it's always people just testing it with their spoons. So it's quite, yeah. I guess we won't do that this year. Shoot. Anyways, yeah, another thing.
Yeah, only one person actually finishes their rice pudding.
My dad.
Yeah.
What's in rice pudding? Is it?
It's literally rice and like milk.
Milk, maybe?
And it's just stovetop until it's very pudding, yeah, just pudding consistency. And they put cinnamon on top, and there might be some nutmeg in there maybe, or something like that. Yeah.
Here we go.
You sprinkle cinnamon and sugar on top, and then you enjoy. Maybe pour some milk or cream on it as well.
Stir it up. You put some pumpkin spice on there.
And eat it.
Sounds like some good steps here, guys. You're really doing it. Yeah.
Your traditions are awesome. I want to steal all of those. That sounds great.
So the one from the east coast of Canada is called mummering.
Okay.
And so it is like caroling, but you dress in odd garb, including covering your face so nobody can see you. And then you go with your friends or family. So like all 4 of us would get dressed up in interesting garb and make sure our whole faces were covered. And then we go to someone's house and knock on the door and start singing. Sometimes they invite themselves into the house and they sing a song, and then the people in the home have to guess who you are. And then they give you a bottle of liquor and then you leave. But you never actually reveal who you are. So I found a picture, and I'll show you through here. These are people going to mummer.
Oh my gosh.
I actually found the same picture.
Yeah. And so, and then what this
Creepy.
thing is,
They have their sticks.
they have their ugly stick. So an ugly stick is when you have a mop and you turn it upside down and secure it into a boot. And then you attach bottle caps to it, and then you like bang it up and down, and it becomes an instrument. Anyways, I just learned about this the other week, and I thought I would share it. Mummering.
Those costumes look kind of grotesque, terrifying.
These ones were the
They're
fun ones that we found, though. These ones were
so
creepy.
creepy, eh?
So creepy.
And like, there's videos. There's like a song, and like these people just like enter your house and stand around and sing a song, and yeah, you're supposed to like clap along and then give them alcohol, and then they leave.
Oh, and you guess, but you don't get any confirmation of whether or not you're right or wrong. Just
That's right. But you can be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's Joe from the grocery store, and
But like
yeah.
how many bottles of liquor are we talking? You're supposed to like have a whole bunch stocked, and every time someone comes, you just have to give them like.
I don't really know. We're gonna have to look up those details. I just thought it was
Yeah.
interesting.
And just hope that they don't.
Oh, are we doing this year?
We can't go to
Oh,
people's
that's
homes.
true. I know.
But
Yeah.
you
Stand
could,
outside.
You could wear a mask.
Just show up at people's houses wearing one of those.
oh, that's horrifying. I mean, there must be some significance to that. Maybe scaring out the demons so that it can make way for the joy of Christmas or something. But that is really scary.
It's so weird. But next year I'll do it for sure. I'm pretty sure everyone will know is me, because they'll be like, nobody else does this.
I'll join you.
I'll come up there to do it, because if I did that here, I'd get shot in like the second house I went to, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Who the hell is this guy in this crazy mask coming in and singing with his ugly stick? Yeah, I think that would definitely get me some bullets. Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. That's who knew?
I love it. Where east are we talking? Is this
I think it's
Prince
in
Edward?
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland? Okay.
Yeah, St. John's, Newfoundland, I think. Well, that's my guess based on the ugly sticks. I don't know if there's listeners out there from the east
Yes.
coast of Canada. You got to let us know about mummering and ugly sticks and why this happens and what's the deal.
Absolutely.
We want to know more.
Hailing all mummers from
Oh, you got to hold it a bit. There you go.
all mummers from Eastern Canada. Reach us at info@mentalhealthbootcamp.com. There we are.
Real.
Can you send that one, Chris?
That's really
I'll
amazing.
send you the song. We found a mummer's song.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
it's so weird. Anyways,
Okay.
ambush. What's going on?
One other thing I wanted to say, since we're mentioning listeners and all of that, I always listen to audiobooks. That's kind of my thing. I listen to audiobooks for the last few years. It helps me say that I read something by just passively listening to it. Actually, I love it because I've plowed through hundreds of books just by listening to them. And when I used to commute, that was very, very helpful for me. Believe it or not, I was on there and I noticed that Audible offers podcasts, and I looked at the podcast. I looked at some of the podcasts they were showing me. I thought, this is weird. And I typed in our podcast, and sure enough, we are listed. We're there. You can get the Mental Health Bootcamp podcast through Audible if you'd like. So just something for you to know. If you don't want to go through iTunes or any of the other apps and you have Audible, it's as easy as that. You can subscribe right there. So just want to let you know.
Awesome.
Public service announcement. So, okay. It is ambush time. That's where one of us knows the topic. The other three of us do not, and they're ambushed by it. So which one of you guys has got it tonight?
Not me.
Not me.
I think it's you there, right, guy?
Uh-oh. Yes, just kidding. It's me.
What a turkey.
What? What a turkey. Okay, I'm sending the ambush question to me. Send and receive. Here we go.
Wow, that was express mail.
It was express. It's very short, where I'm in the same zip code as me. Here we go. What is burnout? How can we distinguish it from just being tired? And what can we do about it? What is burnout?
That's a good one.
Distinguish from being tired, and what can we do about burnout? I read a statistic today that said that someone did some massive research study of hundreds of thousands of Americans, I believe, and asked them burnout questions, and they were saying that the numbers compared to other years, the numbers of people saying that they are burned out is 50% higher than usual.
Hmm.
And the numbers, and they've been looking at it every month since March. I think they're doing it every month, but they were recording the months from March till the present, and it's rising at a steady rate every month. The people who are claiming to feel burned out.
Hmm.
So it's kind of an epidemic. So I'm wondering, what do you think it is, and what can we do about it?
What do you think, Ryan? Like, meaning, why do you think that the rates are higher? Do you think it's that the rates are higher, or that it's a term people are more familiar with now, so they're using it more, or like context of the world? Just a snapshot we can discuss.
Yeah, well, I would say that I think that there's something particular to this pandemic that is causing people to feel more burned out. And by the way, this research was about people feeling burned out at their work. But I believe that burnout can apply to all other areas of your life as well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But in the context of work, I think that work, for people who are fortunate enough to still have a job, the grind of the work has been much more difficult. We have all of the challenging parts of work oftentimes, but with fewer benefits. You know, people aren't having the social time really with their peers. They're having, if you have a job where it requires you to look at a screen all day or have meetings on video all day, that's shown to be exhausting for people as well. Sure, there's not a commute, which is beneficial for a lot of folks, but and just the kind of ever-present worry and wondering when is this going to be over, I think has a cumulative effect as well. So I just think there are multiple factors that are leading people to feel work-wise, and I certainly feel like parenting-wise and relationship-wise, people are burning out at a high rate right now.
Mm-hmm.
So how would we define burnout?
I asked you.
Well, what comes to mind for me would be just the effects, like emotionally, mentally, physically, of prolonged stress. So it's just maybe excessive, prolonged stress and how that impacts us in those areas. So that's what I would think about. There's probably something more to it, but
Sure.
A key marker for me for burnout, which would differentiate it, I think, is compassion fatigue. When we no longer have the capability or ability to be compassionate towards other people or other situations. So that part's gone a little bit. It's hard to dig that out. Yeah. Chris, do you have something?
I would just say like the lack of functioning. So during our mental health bootcamp podcast, we talk a lot about balance. So focus time is important, for instance, with jobs, but we also need to connect and we need to engage in hobbies and downtime. And so I think burnout is when it's out of whack and we're not able to function like we typically do. And it's certain to have negative impacts in terms of your physical health, your mental health, what's going on socially, what's going on at work. So kind of reaching that threshold and starting to have some pretty negative effects on your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
With stress being a contributor, because part of your question, like, how is it different from stress, right? I think stress is an ingredient that leads to burnout.
Tired. I think he's tired, right?
Oh,
being tired versus, but I think tired is a component too. I think it's all interconnected, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I think a lot of what you're talking about are like the components that lead to burnout, you know, prolonged stress, right? Prolonged stress and lack of like rejuvenation certainly lead to burnout. And then it results in things like lower energy and the fatigue that you're talking about, Brooke. I totally agree with that. I guess I would say that burnout is is a place where you have fewer resources, and it feels like it takes greater effort to do the work that maybe took less effort previously. You know,
yeah.
Like You know, it's like when you're thinking about, oh my gosh, it takes so much to just enter into a meeting, or oh, I've got to write a one-page thing or something like that. Just to do a little bit of work feels like, oh, it's going to take so much effort to do it.
So you're saying that it would be like shutting down or just having a harder time engaging in life tasks? Because sometimes I think of when I see someone who's burnt out, or when I've felt burnt out, sometimes it's reactivity as well, right? Like you're still trying to go to that meeting, but you're not firing on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have a hard time, engaging fully in the task at hand.
Mm-hmm. Everything feels sluggish.
I think it's sometimes hard to, I think it's important to note, like for me personally, I always thought I dealt with, in this case, stress well. And I was like, oh, stress, whether work or personal life. And then I think a few years ago, I could say, I think I reached burnout. I think there's a lot of stresses at work, a lot of stressful cases. There's people in my personal life who were struggling, and I was really putting a lot of attention to. And it was just over a certain time, nonstop. And I think I found myself not wanting to be around people. I found myself just being a bit more drained, like a lot more drained, and just needing time away. That was my indicator of, whoa, I think I just need a break. I found I wasn't reaching out to people as much or checking in with those people I normally would, so it probably shows up differently for people, but I'd never experienced burnout before. And I think I was in it, and I was like, whoa, okay. I always thought that maybe I'd be more aware of this, but here I am. And it was a lesson learned to be more mindful, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it can come to, like you said, Joanna, for you, it was a very stressful time and there were a lot of things going on. So for me, that happens too, but I fall in the trap of the saying yes all the time. So I kind of get myself into it. So for me, part of preventing burnout is making sure that I'm putting boundaries around things. And I know when those boundaries start to fall, that I'm treading on dangerous waters. Like I'm saying yes to too many things, or my day's taken up, or whatever. It can be really tough.
Yeah, for sure. Like a few months ago, I think I told Brooke, actually, I'm like, it feels like I'm on the fast lane to burnout town here with all these obligations and tasks. And it seems like you're treading water and you can't stay afloat. There's too many things to do and not enough time to accomplish it all.
Sure.
So making that effort to step back a bit, or Brooke mentioned boundaries is so important, because especially in our profession is, we want to be there and help support people, but how the heck do you support people if we're not looking out for our own mental health and well-being?
Certainly. So I think that's definitely the recipe there. If you consider each of us like we're a bucket, and we need to have something poured into us, energy kind of poured into us through various places, whether that's relationships or good rest or vacations or things to feel hopeful about, or having a good dog to pet, right, Brooke? I mean, that sort of thing. These things that feed us and kind of restore our resources, versus the amount that we're kind of pouring out and giving in other areas of our life or other areas of our jobs or those sorts of things. And if there's an imbalance there, if we're not getting enough pouring in and we're pouring too much out, then there's going to be a deficit before too long. And that's where I think burnout really hits, is when people don't have anything left to give, or they're foreseeing, I don't know if I can do this much longer. And then, then certain problems can happen, right? People, again, thinking of work, but people can start to perform poorly. Maybe they miss tasks or make mistakes, things like that, where they just couldn't concentrate well enough to do the job, and they could risk losing their job. Or if their job is a high stakes job, maybe other people's money or other people's lives or anything are at stake. We certainly don't want those people burning out, because the implications could be pretty tragic, right?
For sure. Yeah, so kind of like chaos or rigidity. Sometimes, we can see behaviors from either category. But it's tough, though, especially during this COVID time, because people are working from home and they're stepping into multiple roles. Parents are not just parents; they're parents and teachers, and they're trying to support their families and as well as work at the same time. So it must be tough for a lot of people out there when it feels like you can't get that downtime, or you can't escape from that.
Well, that, and or I've noticed this with COVID and all the restrictions, the ways that you would normally fill your cup,
Yep.
The ways you would normally replenish are limited, or you're not able to do them. If you are someone that goes to the gym, you probably aren't doing that. If it's someone that connects with other people, or if you're an extrovert and need certain like stimulation from being in going to see live music or something like that, you can't do those things that you would normally do.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think the creativity of how do I replenish now? So not only are you learning a new way to do it, so it's not going to be as efficient anyway, it's not going to be as comforting, plus all these extra demands, it's a double whammy.
Yeah, or they fill up that cup with booze to numb it, or they blow off steam by I don't know, through anger or whatever it might be, and that can create a lot of damage to those connections in their lives.
Just to make it personal, how burned out do you guys feel these days in various areas of your life? Are any of you nearing that point, or
Like
feeling like you're doing
currently in this exact moment?
okay? Sure. Just today.
I don't think I'm tickling burnout.
Yeah.
Are you winking at it?
I might be winking at it, but I'm not tickling it, So because it's just I'm definitely looking forward to having some time off. So that's why I'm ready for time off. So if I weren't going to have that, then that would be really challenging.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, I felt more burnt out, but then I stepped back from some responsibilities and things and took some time off and tried to tone things down. Yeah.
Nice. It's good.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
good.
think that I've felt like truly burnt out since being in school, maybe. No, I'm lying. Never mind. Or when
You
I
felt burnt
started
out.
that business, or when I decided to join the board at Rotary, or no, I get burnt out once a year, maybe.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was a few months ago. I don't think I was fully burnt out, but as I mentioned earlier, I felt like I was on the express lane to being burnt out. So had to step back a bit and have a bit of time off, extended weekends, or getting, I guess during COVID it's tough, but in the past, trying to get away a bit, just get out into nature in some way.
Yeah.
So I do have those go-to ways to try to rejuvenate.
Yes. Well, we'll
As I
get into
mentioned.
that. We'll get into that a little bit more, and we get into what can we do about it. But I'm just curious if you guys have ever experienced it. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I think I kind of made note when I first truly felt an experience of burnout was a few years ago, and that was just very blatant for me.
Yeah.
And I think I've done my best to be aware of maybe how stress gets to me. That was just a learning experience. It was sneaky. It was a sneaky burnout. So now I'm like, okay, things are getting to me a little bit more. So I wouldn't say I'm on the verge of burnout right now, but I think high stress, right? With COVID, with thinking about the holidays, and I have my roller coaster of emotions with that, but I don't think I'm at the point where I'm kind of, it doesn't fit with me right now. I think I'm just trying to navigate the stress of everything, allow myself some outlets, and we'll get into that stuff. But I think I'm doing okay. And I think that's because of some lessons learned, but sometimes it's hard. I don't know, especially when resources aren't as available as we noted.
Oh, yes.
Or life is just throwing you all these curveballs, and you're like, I have to worry about this now, and you try to, Anyways. How about you, Ryan?
I'm fortunate that I don't really feel burned out right now. I find that I feel more burned out when I'm doing a lot of things that don't really feed me. If I feel like I'm kind of obligated to do a bunch of things that aren't really all that enjoyable for me. But right now I feel like I'm doing a lot of things I'd like to do that actually invigorate me. I love doing therapy. I love doing this podcast. I like making music. I like writing. I like most writing. Sometimes I like writing. Let me put it that way. But earlier, when at the beginning of the pandemic, say like April, May or so, I think I was burning out a lot. I was writing that book, and I was just feeling a lot of the strain, of teaching my kids school, and it was hard. It felt, and then when it's getting hot outside and it was like too hot to go out and exercise, those were hard days. Right now, though, weather's beautiful and lovely Los Angeles, so best time of the year for me. So I like this. I'm feeling okay. Feeling okay.
Good.
So let's get to some of these ideas. What can we do about it? I guess across context, whether it's burnout again with family time, burning out with schoolwork if you're in school. Oh, that was definitely a time I was burned out. Towards the end of graduate school, oh man, I was so done. My graduate program was 6 years, and I think I burned out about 3 years into it. So
Mm.
I was so ready to be done there.
It's grueling. It's such an interesting
Oh.
thing. I didn't find that like it was hard. It was just a lot of things to do.
Oh, so much. Yes. So people could be burning out from many different things right now. What do you think we can do to? How can we help people with this? What can we suggest?
I think step one is awareness,
Hmm.
which everyone's going to have to do their own piece and reflecting on of taking an inventory of themselves. Like, am I doing the things, my basic self-care things? Am I finding enjoyment in things? What are my relationships looking like? Am I still excited to do stuff, or am I kind of apathetic? I know that a lot of that sometimes, some of these signs might mimic or mirror anxiety or depression as well. So watch out for it. But yeah, you're just going to have to get to know your own signs first so that you know what's happening. Right?
I know for me, I know when I start fantasizing about that minimum wage job I had mowing grass on a golf course, starting at 6 a.m. and going out there and just making my $5 an hour or whatever it was. When I start fantasizing, thinking, man, I'd really rather be there. That's when I think I know I'm burning out. There's my my tipping point right there.
That's a good one.
Yeah, do you ever do that, Joe? Imagine working back in the parks.
Oh, I
We-
think about it a lot.
We had this summer job where in a regional park close by, and you got actually paid quite well. But
So
you
well.
kind of do a bit of minor park maintenance work and patrol the beach, but a lot of it's just walking. They just pruning back bushes, picking up garbage just by the ocean. There's also a lake in the park as well. So
Wow, sounds nice.
Yeah,
yeah,
that
so
was
that kind of resonates a bit. Yeah.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So yes, awareness. Anyway, back to your point, Brooke. Awareness is key. I think with most mental health issues, being aware, being able to say, okay, wait a minute, this is more than just feeling a little stressed out. I've been feeling this way for a while. I'm really loathing this task that I'm doing and kind of wanting to avoid it, not wanting to be here anymore, and it just
Feeling
feels really
drained.
draining. Yeah,
Yeah.
drained. Yep. Sure.
Drained,
Sure.
right?
There could be dread
Yeah.
because that was the thing for me. I just dreading checking in with people if I know that I just don't have the capacity to listen and not so much, or just a lot of, for me that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, it could be physical sensations, headaches, just feeling groggy, down. But yeah, the emotional stuff, lack of motivation, feeling helpless,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
I guess if you have the option to really just maybe take little moments for yourself, or be able to have little moments of mental vacations, or little breaks to try to get outside, or just make any little minor changes in your day. Like, when I think about trying to suggest things to people, I also want to keep in mind right now that there's people who don't really have a lot of options to change their life in different ways. And so what do we give those people? Like, I had a friend who had an ailing dad, and how she was working full time and she was going to school, and it's like she didn't have a choice but to keep going. And it's like, what do those people do, right? Like, you can't be like, well, just take an hour for yourself every day. It's like they don't have that time.
But I do think, I think it's important to stop and kind of take inventory and see what things you can change, if there is anything, right? To see, okay, what is it? Do I have some things that are just sort of self-imposed that I'm doing that are actually stressing me out? Because we all, if you think about it, we can do that sometimes too. Like, I'm making myself do something that is really not necessary, but and it's stressing me out, right?
Mm-hmm. Or if there's anything you can choose to take off your plate. to make it easier for yourself, right? Like it's not the time to be after perfection or chasing expectation. There is no expectation. There are no rules right now. Like you need to kind of decide what you want to do. So like if you're like, no, I have to eat super healthy right now because I'm doing a fitness challenge. Sometimes us up here, Joanna and I like those types of things. But maybe if you're in the middle of burnout, that's the time to be like, this actually isn't helping me right now. Sure, eating well helps me, but if it's an expectation that I have on myself, it's adding pressure. And hey, you know what? Hey, this week I'm just gonna get breakfast at McDonald's because that's gonna make my life easier, and that's okay.
Yes. If I'm spending 2.5 hours making all my organic vegan meals all the time, then maybe I can find a little more time to rest or do something else with that time,
Potentially, like just as an example, right?
Yes.
Something to give yourself permission. There was, I forget where I read it, but it was like just a little story of an example of throwing these rules out. And it was a therapist and a client, and then the client was like, oh, well, right now what's stressing me out is I'm going to go home and I have to do the dishes. And the therapist said, well, why don't you just put them in the dishwasher? And they're like, well, it's going to take an hour and they don't clean very well. My dishwasher doesn't clean very well, but these dishes are stressing me out. And the therapist said, well, then run it 2 times, run it 3 times, run it 4 times if you need to. There's like, get rid of that expectation for yourself. Like whatever's going to make your life easier right now, maybe that's what we need to do.
I like it.
And still accomplish or get the things done you need to do. So if you need to take some of your clothes to the dry cleaner this week, I know that that's speaking from privilege because somebody would have to be able to afford to do so.
Sure.
But if you're able to do that, go for it.
There we go.
Yeah. I think maximizing, being strategic in terms of the downtime. So if you're taking a break from work or when the kids are down for a nap, what can you do during that short amount of time for yourself?
Yes. Let me piggyback on that just for a second and say that that not all of what we consider relaxing is actually relaxing. Doom scrolling through your news feed is not relaxing. A lot of times, some TV programs can be relaxing. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes you're still kind of getting emotionally involved or something like that. So I like to ask people to try to intentionally relax. 15 minutes of meditation or deep breathing or reading a book in a chair could be better for you than 2 hours of watching a stressful movie or scrolling through your Instagram or Twitter or something like that,
Yeah, for sure.
On that note, Ryan, I agree. Like sometimes I point out to clients, I'm like, can you pay attention between now and the next time I see you, what you enjoy in your day? Can you just like break down these activities and pay attention to what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy? And why don't we just, try and not do the things that are not bringing you pleasure and the other simple things like, if you like a certain type of tea, great. Awesome. We're going to do that. You enjoy brushing your teeth. Great. We're going to make sure you brush your teeth. And maybe there's things that you don't enjoy that are easy enough to change, like the radio station in the car or scrolling the news. If you realize you're scrolling the news, but you don't actually enjoy it, maybe we need to pay attention to that.
Good point.
Yeah. And it might be like interesting things too that are unique to you. So for instance, when I have a break, instead of, I could catch up on a report or scroll the news, but today I actually looked at realty. I'm not in a position to buy any real estate, but I just like looking at layouts of houses and unique design elements and stuff. But I feel a little more rejuvenated after that. So 20 minutes of doing that, half an hour doing that, whatever it might be, is way better time spent.
That's great.
Again, scrolling through the news or watching YouTube videos. There
we go. I spent 20 minutes today putting together my mummery mask. Is that what it's called? Mummery? No, mummery?
I think so.
Yeah.
mummering or mummer. You would be
Yeah.
a mummer.
I put together my mummer mask, and it was horrifying and very relaxing. It was really nice.
And yet festive
Yeah,
in some way.
Yes, felt very
fostering
good.
creativity. That's good.
There we go.
It may lead to some connection, sort of. Just don't get shot. Yeah, as you mentioned.
I think
Okay.
a purposeful short time could be used well, right? It could be 5 minutes, but if you're purposefully, doing something to, be in the present moment or to focus on yourself, on your body, or just, a little mental vacation, I think that could make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, get outside, right? The fresh air and nature is huge.
Yeah.
And if you find you're distracted by all the things you need to do in your mind, then just focus on what's around you. You point out there's a tree,
Yeah.
there's a squirrel.
Sometimes I choose not to focus at all. Sometimes it's like stimulation break. Lie on the floor and turn the lights off for 10 minutes. My intent is not to fall asleep, but my intent is like, there's so much going on in the world with all the senses but again, I'm very visceral for myself personally. So sometimes I just need stimulation break.
Yeah. I also try to put things in perspective a bit. So we talk a lot, almost every week, about Viktor Frankl, who wrote a book, A Man's Search for Meaning. And we met at this conference in DC, as our long-term listeners probably know. And they have the Holocaust Museum there, and they take you through this very impactful journey.
Oh man.
And I still have that passport book from that tour in my office. And sometimes I look at that or think of Victor and what they had to deal with on a daily basis. It may seem really extreme, but I'm like, okay, if they can get through that, I can get through this. Or trying to think of the whole COVID situation. Like, it's been brought up, it's a couple times this week about how this is not the first time we've had an odd Christmas. There's a lot of people over the past 40, 50 years have lived through wars and haven't been able to be with loved ones. And there were curfews and food rations and you name it, right? So there's been a lot of odd Christmases, including probably the very first one. So, what can we focus on and inspecting every situation for positive elements, no matter how small those might be.
That's great. I love that, Chris. I'm going to make one other appeal here, which is for being social, for talking about it. I think a lot of people, even if they become aware of their burnout, they feel like, oh, I don't want to talk to people about it. I don't want to burden others with this, or I don't want to, bring someone else down or
ask for help.
Ask for help. I don't want to ask for help. Definitely. Sure. I don't want to show weakness, or there could be so many different reasons for people to say, I'm going to keep this inside. And boy, for a lot of people, just being able to share it, just to get it off their chest and say, you know what, I'm really tired right now, or I really feel like I'm dragging, or I'm burning out. And just to hear some assurance from someone else, or maybe to hear, yeah, I feel that way too, or to hear that that they're not, they're not being unreasonable for feeling that way. Just that little bit can make such a difference for people. And so I will definitely encourage folks to talk about it, just like we did earlier in this talk. Hey, let's just check in. How burned out are you guys feeling? Turns out none of us are particularly burned out right now, but if one of us were, I don't think we'd shame them for it, right? We'd empathize and talk about it and try to do what we can to support, right?
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. And then on this topic as well, I would like to mention that recovery from burnout is going to take however long it's going to take, and we don't need to put a timeline or judgment on that, because everyone is different. Chris and I co-own a wellness center together. So in this wellness center, we have holistic practitioners. So there's massage therapists and chiros and dietitians and that kind of stuff. And I was talking with one of the massage therapists who's working really, really hard right now. And he's going to take a month off in January to regroup and reset, because he's starting to feel burnt out, which is good. He's putting some boundaries. But I guess he was listening to a podcast or watched a show with Matthew McConaughey, who mentioned he often takes a month off at a time, because for him, it takes him 2 weeks before he gets to a point where he feels he's actually starting to recover. So for him to get to 0 before he actually starts improving takes 2 weeks. And this massage therapist that we work with echoed that, where he's mentioned in the past, he's noticed that it takes about 2 weeks before he starts, that his body's actually starting to the recovery process. And I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. So it might take a little bit of time, especially if you need to keep your commitments, right?
Yeah. Wow. That's wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever taken a month off.
I've never.
It sounds appealing, but I
I've traveled.
Yeah? For
Yeah.
that amount of time?
I've traveled, well, but that was I was in a bit of a limbo period there. So it was between degrees, and I went away for 3 months.
3 months? Awesome.
But I feel like now that I'm working in what I am, I probably wouldn't go away for that period of time. I think we went away to Europe for 3 weeks there, Chris. But I think 3 weeks is the most I've done.
Yeah, I think it was just over 2 weeks or something like that. Yeah. I don't think I've gone.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
off
I'm
from
sorry.
that.
I guess it was just over 2 weeks. But
Yeah.
I don't
gonna
think
throw
I've taken
yeah.
2 consecutive work weeks. I've taken 1 work week, and then, you know, you have your weekends on either end. And that was including, I went to Stockholm. But yeah, I'd only taken 1 work week.
Wow.
I was just thinking about something. Another symptom of burnout, which I just realized that I've experienced in the past, is you actually feel numb. You feel like,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know if that resonates with you. It's like a sensation in the core of the body, and you're just like, I'm done, I'm toast. Like there's no highs, there's no lows anymore. This kind of hit me a second ago, sort of derail the topic there a bit, but
Yeah,
Sorry.
sometimes I call it a dead banana.
just the kind of banana you like to eat, Brooke.
Past that, Joanna. Or like,
You're
I feel like a
frozen?
dead banana.
Your frozen banana? No?
No.
Definitely a freezer banana, Chris, for sure.
Just for people, there's kind of an inside thing with the banana stuff here. Myself, I really like a banana that's just nice and purely yellow. Just a nice medium yellow, and not a lot of spots. Brooke likes her bananas a little more
Freckled.
ripe than that. Freckled.
Freckles. Not cheetahs, but freckles. On the
Okay.
way to cheetahs is still okay.
Yeah.
But a
Well.
full cheetah is too far.
Full cheetah. There we go.
No, I'm on Team Ryan on this one.
Yeah.
If I see a spot on that sucker,
To the freezer it
I'm out.
goes.
To the freezer it goes.
A
Banana bread.
freezer full of bananas.
You're bread to me. That's it. Yes.
Or smoothies.
So you're talking about the what banana there, Brooke?
It's like a dead banana. Like, I don't know. I just like, boo, I'm done. I don't know why.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we all want to hopefully take care of each other before we become dead bananas. Our banana's dead here for the night, everyone. So we are going to sign off and burn out for the evening. So hope this has been helpful. If you feel like you know someone who might benefit from this information about burnout, please feel free to forward this podcast to them. I think it's kind of an epidemic, as I was saying earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. Please like and subscribe on Apple, Google, Podbean, Audible, or YouTube. Send your questions to info@mentalhealthbootcamp.com. Visit us on Facebook or Instagram. Ask us any sorts of questions. We're not burned out, as we said before. And that's
It's okay if you are.
And it's okay if you
Get
are.
support.
It's all right. We'll get you some help. So that's it, everybody. Have a good night. See you
Bye.
later.
Doodles.
Bye-bye.